Welcome to part 2 of the video on internal aids of interpretation. Explanation. Explanation within statutes clarify and explain the meaning of provisions. These aim at removing doubts and provide additional aid to make the act consistent with the main object. For example, Section 21 of the Indian Penal Code offers 3 explanations to the definition of a public servant. However, in the case of S. Sundaram Pillai versus Patabi Raman, the Supreme Court held that an explanation cannot in any way interfere with or change the enactment or any of its part, but can only fill the relevant gaps. Proviso. A proviso refers to a condition that is attached to a specific section or provision within a law. The purpose of a proviso is to qualify, modify, or limit the scope or application of the main provision to which it is attached. In the case of Commissioner of Income Tax versus Krishna Warrior, the Supreme Court held that it is not always an inflexible rule of construction that a proviso in a statute should always be read as a limitation upon the effect of the main enactment. Schedules. Schedules in statutes provide additional details or specifications related to main provisions, often including lists, forms, or supplementary information. The schedule may be used in construing provisions in the body of the Act. In the case of Afli Pharmaceutical Limited versus State of Maharashtra, the Supreme Court held that the expressions in the schedule cannot control or prevail against the express enactment, and in case of inconsistency, the enactment shall prevail. Non-obstantate clause. The phrase non-obstantate is a Latin word and can be translated as notwithstanding or despite. When a non-obstantate clause is included in a legal provision, it signifies that the provision stands despite any other provision in the law that might conflict with it. Another phrase that is used is without prejudice, which means that the provision in which it is used does not affect the other provisions. For example, Section 45 of the Criminal Procedure Code 1973, which is a non-obstantate clause that grants immunity to members of the armed forces of the Union from arrest for actions carried out in the discharge of their official duties, with the condition that such arrest can only occur with the consent of the central government. Punctuations. The earlier view of the judges was that punctuation do not form part of the statute. However, modern statutes include punctuations, and courts initially rely on punctuations for interpretation of the provisions. But in cases of ambiguity, courts may interpret the provision without relying on the punctuation. In the case of Ashwini Kumar versus Arabinda Bose, the Supreme Court held that if the punctuation is without sense or conflicts with the plain meaning of the words, the court will not let the punctuations impose a meaning on the words that they would not naturally convey. Hope you now comprehensively understand the internal aids to interpretation.